Holland, by marriage, is as effectually governed by Prussia as if the old tyranny of bequeathing the government had been the means. The presidency in America, or, as it is sometimes called, the executive, is the only office from which a foreigner is excluded, and in England it is the only one to which he is admitted. A foreigner cannot be a member of Parliament, but he may be what is called a king. If there is any reason for excluding foreigners, it ought to be from those offices where mischief can most be acted, and where, by uniting every bias of interest and attachment, the trust is best secured. But as nations proceed in the great business of forming constitutions, they will examine with more precision into the nature and business of that department which is called the executive. What the legislative and judicial departments are, everyone can see. But with respect to what in Europe is called the executive, as distinct from those two, it is either a political superfluity or a chaos of unknown things. Some kind of official department, to which reports shall be made from the different parts of a nation or from abroad, to be laid before the national representatives, is all that is necessary. But there is no consistency in calling this the executive. Neither can it be considered in any other light than as inferior to the legislative. The sovereign authority in any country is the power of making laws, and everything else is an official department. Next to the arrangement of the principles and the organization of the several parts of a constitution is the provision to be made for the support of the persons to whom the nation shall confide the administration of the constitutional powers. A nation can have no right to the time and services of any person at his own expense, whom it may choose to employ or entrust in any department whatever. Neither can any reason be given for making provision for the support of any one part of a government and not for the other. But admitting that the honor of being entrusted with any part of a government is to be considered a sufficient reward, it ought to be so to every person alike. If the members of the legislature of any country are to serve at their own expense, that which is called the executive, whether monarchical or by any other name, ought to serve in like manner. It is inconsistent to pay the one and accept the service of the other gratis. In America, every department in the government is decently provided for, but no one is extravagantly paid. Every member of Congress and of the assemblies is allowed a sufficiency for his expenses, whereas in England a most prodigal provision is made for the support of one part of the government and none for the other, the consequence of which is that the one is furnished with the means of corruption and the other is put into the condition of being corrupted. Less than a fourth part of such expense, applied as it is in America, would remedy a great part of the corruption. Another reform in the American Constitution is the exploding all oaths of personality. The oath of allegiance in America is to the nation only. The putting any individual as a figure for a nation is improper. The happiness of a nation is the superior object, and therefore the intention of an oath of allegiance ought not to be obscured by being figuratively taken, to, or in the name of, any person. The oath, called the civic oath in France, viz., the nation, the law, and the king, is improper. If taken at all, it ought to be as in America, to the nation only. The law may or may not be good, but in this place it can have no other meaning than as being conducive to the happiness of a nation and therefore is included in it. The remainder of the oath is improper, on the ground that all personal oaths ought to be abolished. They are the remains of tyranny on one part and slavery on the other, and the name of the Creator ought not to be introduced to witness the degradation of his creation. Or if taken, as is already mentioned, as figurative of the nation, it is in this place redundant. But whatever apology may be made for oaths at the first establishment of a government, they ought not to be permitted afterwards. If a government requires the support of oaths, it